When the only constant in life is change, you need to be ready. This is the Man-Made Survival Show.
Hello everyone, my name is Jose Prado, Man-Made Survival, and we thank you for coming to see the show one more time. And today we're going to talk about the possibility of civil war in this country. And at first, we're going to go all the way back when Trump was elected. It didn't seem like things were that serious. And even though the people were going crazy about Trump getting elected and people fighting it, we thought that everything was going to calm down and go back to normal. People will go back to normal business. But that did not happen. So the first video that we're going to show you is going to be how people felt when he first was inaugurated.
Burning cars and smashed windows. A small group of protesters dressed in black, their faces covered, armed with hammers and bricks. Facing off with thousands of officers on site, many in riot gear, confronting them with flashbang grenades and pepper spray. All of a sudden, the police officers started to spray pepper spray, and they got our audio technician. They're going to see us running because they're going to throw more flashbangs. The chaotic scene just blocks outside the secure area of the inauguration and parade route.
I personally have anti-establishment slants, but I don't think that this is anything that I want to be a...
This checkpoint is closed!
Before the swearing-in ceremony even began, protesters tried to block checkpoint entrances.
It's closed!
During President Trump's speech, several demonstrators were escorted out of the area. Several officers injured during the protest today, and more than 100 people arrested. Once the inaugural parade began, the newly sworn-in president facing thousands of peaceful protesters amongst his supporters. NBC's Stephanie Gosk was with him all day.
When Donald Trump took the oath of office, the people here sang, "We shall overcome."
Resist from day one!
Similar demonstrations across the country. Arrest outside Trump Tower, New York City. A human chain across San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. From Phoenix to Houston to Chicago, people protesting the country's new president on his first day in office. Tonight, thousands of protesters remain in downtown D.C., occasionally facing off with police. We have seen many people injured, both protesters and police officers. And tomorrow, D.C. police are preparing for a women's march on Washington. Organizers of that march say they expect a couple 100,000 people. Lester?
Jacob Rascone here in D.C. tonight.
All right, so that's how pretty much everyone felt at the beginning, or everybody on the left. And you know, a lot of people were talking about Trump is not my president, Trump this, Trump that. And even though the people on the right were saying, yeah, he's your president, and, you know, we were happy that he won. And we thought things were just going to go back to normal. People were just going to get over it and move on. But that's not how it happened. Then what made things worse was the politicians in Washington just go after Trump for whatever little reason they could find just to try to and get him impeached. So we get the Mueller report. You know, that was the next step. That didn't work. Russia collusion, that didn't work. So now we're here. And I got this article from the Washington Post. In America, talks turn to something not spoken of 150 years, civil war. At a moment when the country has never seemed angrier, two political commentators from opposite sides of the divide concurred recently on the point that was once nearly unthinkable. The country is on the verge of civil war. First came former U.S. Attorney Joseph DiGenova, a Fox News regular and an ally of President Trump. "We are in a civil war," he said. "The suggestion is that there's ever going to be a civil discourse in this country for the foreseeable future is over. It's going to be total war." With the investigative report from Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller III said to be nearly completed, and with impeachment talk in the air and the 2020 presidential election campaign ramping up, fears that once existed only in the fiction or in the fevered dreams of conspiracy theories have become a regular part of political debate these days. There's talk of violence, mayhem, and increasingly civil war. And that is very true. When this first came out, They were talking about the impeachment. They were talking about getting Trump out of office. People on the streets were starting to, or on the left, people since the beginning, they were already getting violent because of it. And this next video will show just that.
We begin with several developing stories here on a Friday night. First, the violent and bloody clashes outside a Donald Trump event. Protesters attacking Trump supporters. Those supporters were attacked as they left the convention center in San Jose overnight. Some punched, some chased down and beaten. Others had bottles thrown at them. And just a short time ago, Donald Trump addressing the violence. ABC's Tom Yamas is in California.
Tonight, Donald Trump condemning the protesters behind those bloody attacks on his supporters.
They walk out and they get accosted by a bunch of thugs burning the American flag. And you know what they are? They're thugs.
Anti-Trump protesters hunting down the very people who back Trump, pelting a woman with eggs.
Oh my God!
Surrounding this man trying to get away. Other Trump supporters beaten.
What happened?
I was walking on the street and this guy like sucker punched me in the back of the head.
The protesters shaking cars, breaking taillights. Police on hand, but it seems that they didn't act quickly enough. This amid concerns about security at the upcoming Republican National Convention. Trump tonight saying he has supporters of all races standing by him, calling out one man in the crowd.
Look at my African American over here. Look at him. Are you the greatest? Do you know what I'm talking about?
But now Trump is embroiled in a new racially charged controversy, attacking a federal judge because he is Mexican American. Judge Gonzalo Curiel, who was born in Indiana and is a U.S. citizen, presides over one of the lawsuits against Trump University.
I have a judge who is a hater of Donald Trump, a hater. He's a hater. The judge, who happens to be, we believe, Mexican, which is great. I think that's fine.
But Trump now says the judge's Mexican background should disqualify him from the case, telling the New York Times, "I have a Mexican judge. He's of Mexican heritage. He should have recused himself." Trump calling that a conflict of interest. And tonight, doubling down on CNN.
If you are saying he can't do his job because of his race, is that not the definition of racism?
No, I don't think so at all.
No?
No, he's proud of his heritage. I respect him for that.
You're saying he can't do his job because of it?
Look, he's proud of his heritage, okay? I'm building a wall. This judge is giving us unfair rulings. Now I say why. Well, I'm building a wall, okay? And it's a wall between Mexico, not another country.
But he's not from Mexico.
In my opinion,
he's from Indiana.
He is his Mexican heritage, and he's very proud of it.
All right, so let's get to Tom Yamas live in California tonight. And Tom, is the judge's family now responding?
That's right, David. The judge couldn't comment because of the rules of the court on a pending case. But we did speak to his brother, who calls Donald Trump a blowhard. But about his own brother, Gonzalo Curiel, he says that he's objective and he always follows the letter of the law. David?
All right, so as we see from that report from ABC News, we can see, and that was from the beginning, the people on the left were the violent ones. They were always attacking people, harassing people coming out of Trump events. Just because they wore a MAGA hat, they would get violent, okay? And then along came Antifa, and I have a report here. Portland Antifa sentenced to nearly 6 years for attacking Trump supporter. This from Zero Hedge. A 24-year-old member of Antifa who hit another man over the head with a baton during a June 29 scuffle in Portland was sentenced to nearly 6 years in prison on Friday, according to Oregon Live. Gage Halupowski was identified as one of the several black cloth and masked Antifa demonstrators seen on video attacking Adam Kelly after he appeared to come to the aid of an elderly man who had been attacked by a violent leftist. This is the video. Okay, that all it takes for a civil war to start. The one side's already fighting, the other side is going to start defending itself. It only takes one gun to be pulled for it to just take it to a whole different level. And hopefully that's where we can stop the fighting. The disagreements can continue, but when you get this violent, okay, and it becomes violent on both sides, that's when you have a civil war in your hands. Okay, so I got this this article. It says GOP lawmaker invokes possibility of civil war after House votes on Trump impeachment procedures. And of course, we already had that impeachment hearing this past week, and they decided to impeach Trump. And of course, we saw that Nancy Pelosi was going to hold on to those impeachment articles before they send it to the Senate for a vote, which is kind of ridiculous because if you're already done the deed, just get it over with and send it to the Senate. But the thing is that she knows that it's going to die there. It's not going to go anywhere. But, you know, it's just playing a political game. And what she's doing, people saying it's unconstitutional because since the impeachment has already taken place, they just need to go ahead and send it and get it over with. But if she doesn't do that, then what was the purpose of the whole impeachment if she's just not going to send the articles? Okay, all they're doing is fanning the flames of war or civil war, and people are more divided each day. Representative Lou Gorman, representative from Texas, said on Thursday that House Democrats' ongoing inquiry into the presidential dealings in Ukraine is about to push this country to a civil war if they were to get their wishes. Gohmert, speaking after the House vote along party lines to approve a measure establishing procedures for the impeachment process, added, "And if there's one thing I don't want to see in my lifetime, I don't want to ever have participation in, it's civil war." Some historian, I don't remember who, said guns are only involved in the last phase of civil war. Gohmert also complained that there was armed guards outside the sensitive compartmented information facility, the SCIF, where deposition from witnesses testified as part of the inquiry took place. And we have a video for this one as well we're about to show.
Pentagon official Laura Cooper leaving Capitol Hill after her testimony before the impeachment inquiry.
You know, I think the witness is verifying a number of facts that we already knew.
Her deposition delayed for several hours when about 24 House Republicans entered the closed-door meeting and refused to leave.
Voting members of Congress are being denied access from being able to see what's happening behind these closed doors where they're trying to impeach the President of the United States with a one-sided set of rules.
Democrats called it a stunt, a violation of House rules which say only members on 3 key committees are allowed inside.
They're freaked out. They're trying to stop this investigation.
One day earlier, Ambassador Bill Taylor, a top diplomat in Ukraine, testified that he was told that in order to receive military aid, Ukraine's president had to, quote, go to a microphone and say he is opening investigations of Biden and 2016 election interference. According to the White House, the testimony was just more hearsay. President Trump took aim at the inquiry during a stop in Pennsylvania.
They can't beat us at the ballot box. They cannot beat us at the ballot box. So they want to try and beat us the old-fashioned way, which is not very nice. They are a nasty group of people.
The president also called for Republican unity, saying, quote, we've got to stick together. Dan Scheneman, NBC News.
So that's just crazy that they held secret meetings, you know, with secret witnesses that gave a secret testimony. That's not how things work here, and especially imagine if they were to do that in when you go to court. They just tell you, they don't give you evidence. They just say everything's secret. They just know you're guilty. I mean, how well would you take that? Obviously not very well. Never in the history of this country have we had such gross unfairness that one party would put armed guards with guns to prevent the duly authorized people from being able to hear the witnesses and see for themselves, he continued. The House passed a measure in a 232 to 196 vote, largely along party lines, with no Republicans voting in favor in the legislation. And I mean, of course, how they can vote for it is something they never heard, right? But either way, the point is that they had a mission and they went for it. After Trump invokes the Civil War, his mockers on Twitter rushed to sign up, Washington Post. Trump quoted the Rev. Robert Jeffress as saying in Fox News appearance that if the Democrats are successful in removing the president from office, which they will never be, it will cause a civil war-like fracture in the nation from which our country will never heal. By Monday, hashtag Civil War sign up and hashtag Civil War 2 were in top trending hashtags on Twitter. And of course, the people are mocking it because they can't think that anything like that could really happen. And that was then, but things have gotten worse ever since. Approximately 620,000 soldiers died during the American Civil War, according to the American Battlefield Trust. That's a little fewer than the number killed in all other conflicts in the U.S. history combined. And that is just really sad. And on the last podcast, if you saw it, the movie of the week was Lincoln, and of course it's not a History Channel movie. It's just a Hollywood movie. But the point for you to watch that was that things were bad, even though it was over this bill that Lincoln was trying to pass, trying to abolish slavery and all that good stuff. And if they accurately depicted how Lincoln was feeling about the war, it was horrible. The country is tearing each other apart, brother against brother, and that's just sad. And we have a very high risk of that happening today. Okay, the next article, I just have the headline: McConnell tells Senate Republicans to be ready to impeach for impeachment trial of Trump. And of course, this has after they already impeached Trump, and Adam Schiff has been a major part of this. He has put false testimony into the congressional hearings and all that stuff, and people are starting to get angry. Okay, at first we saw from the beginning of Trump till now, it was mainly the leftists that were getting angry. They were the ones punching people. They were the ones attacking people, and Trump supporters mostly kept their cool. Okay, and then but there's gonna be a point where they're just not gonna take it anymore from either from politicians or from the other people, from their neighbors or whoever it is. And here we have this video of the reaction when Adam Schiff showed up at an event.
You're guilty of criminal conspiracy. Liar!
You're a lawyer!
Don't impeach! Don't impeach!
Lawyer!
You should go in jail! Don't cut!
You should be in jail. You are a disgrace to the House of Representatives. You will be going to jail for treason. You will go to jail for treason. No disrespect to you all. I'm glad you guys are getting recognized for genocide. This man is a liar. You should be in jail. Don't put your hands on me. Don't put your hands on me. You should be in jail. You will be in jail. We're going to take the Senate. We're going to take the House. 2020 is on. And no disrespect.
People's voices are going to start being heard. This guy has the right to be angry because he believes that what is being done is unacceptable, and which it is. They are falsely accusing Trump, even though there's footage of other people doing worse things. And according to what people in the Senate are saying is that he didn't do anything wrong. People have said that what he did wasn't illegal or anything like that. But the bottom line is that now people are starting to make their voices being heard. People are starting to lash out, in events, in public events like these. And they had to shut that one down because now when that guy started calling him out and saying the things he said, other people started getting angry too. Everybody else, there were two sides in that room. People were getting angry at each other, so they just went ahead and shut it down. The police came in and they escorted everybody out, and they escorted Adam Schiff out. you know, and he didn't even get the chance to say anything because he spent more on gas to get there than what he spent the time being there. So the bottom line is people are starting to become angry. And people are of course are going and they are showing their support for Trump, and they don't want the impeachment to happen, even though it already did.
Man right there. That's it. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. 3, 4. Bring one down. 1, 2, 3. That's cool. 4 more years. 4 more years. Stop the coup. Stop the coup. Stop the coup. Stop the coup. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall. Stop the Inquisition. Stop the Inquisition. Stop the Inquisition.
So there it is. People are speaking out. People are showing their support for Trump. They're getting tired of all of it. And as we see, there's people that were going for Trump 2020. And I myself, I hope he doesn't get impeached, but either way, Trump 2020. So anyways, this is not the only thing that can cause a civil war. You know, we have the whole Trump 2020. Maybe people are saying that maybe the result, whether he wins or loses, can make either side go haywire, and then everybody just goes crazy and starts attacking each other. Some people say that people on the right, if he loses, they're going to say, well, it was rigged and it wasn't right. He should be in office because we all want him in office. Last election, he won by a landslide in the Electoral College, even though Hillary Clinton allegedly won the popular vote. But then again, if Trump wins again, then they're going to say that the system is rigged because whoever the candidate is at that time, they're going to wish they had won. Okay, so that's not the only thing that can cause a civil war. I want to raise other awareness because we have all these things going on all at the same time. Okay, in my opinion, an economic crash can start civil war. The results of the 2020 election can start civil war, or the impeachment. And gun control or confiscation can also start civil war. As we have seen in Virginia, people are getting ready. People are speaking out in Virginia because they feel like their rights are being taken away. And they're right to feel that way because they in fact are. And I'm glad that they're the ones speaking out against this red flag laws. But a while back in California, the Representative Swollen said this. Here's the headline. Democrat Rep Swalwell warns gun owners that government has nukes. Representative Eric Swalwell, California Democrat, warned gun owners Friday that any fight over firearms would be a short one because the federal government has an extensive cache of nuclear weapons. After Joe Biggs tweeted that Mr. Swalwell wants a war over the Second Amendment, Mr. Swalwell responded, and it would be a short one, my friend. The government has nukes. Too many of them, but they're legit. The congressman tweeted. I'm sure if we talk, we could find a common ground to protect our families and our communities. And now that's just crazy that a congressman, is going to tell you that they have nukes. Okay, so let's say that they have that mentality that they do have the nukes and they would use them against their own people. Okay, if the right person is on there. But let's not go that extreme. They can use the military too, and we have the most advanced military in the world, right? Those, as he said, if his wish comes true, that there was a civil war over the guns, that the U.S. government would just use our tanks, our military against us. Now, that's where another debate can come in. Okay, if the generals and everybody in the military, they're split too, because they believe that even though they're giving orders, they will not kill American people or they will not confiscate guns. It'll happen like it happened in the first Civil War. Okay, generals will split and people will follow, and then they'll fight each other. Okay, and that would be extremely bad. Now, how long can a war like that last? Okay, back in the first Civil War, it lasted 4 years, but now you got to think we have a lot more technology. Our tactics are better than it was then. Now, will you think it would last longer, or would it be a whole lot shorter than that? We don't know. You know, I guess it depends who has the better militaries who will win in this event. Now, what the politicians have come out with is the great idea of getting red flag laws established, and which is the thing that they're fighting in Virginia right now. What are red flag laws? Red flag gun laws, and how do they work? Hoping to prevent more mass shootings, some states have tried empowering courts to take guns away from potentially dangerous people. And this is from the New York Times, by the way. With one mass shooting after another in recent years, political leaders have debated how to take preventive actions without trampling on constitutional rights. Some states have tried, and more have debated, enacting measures called red flag laws, which are intended to restrict potentially dangerous people rather than dangerous weapons. That approach is seen as more likely to attract bipartisan support than many other gun control proposals. Here's what you need to know about those laws. They are state laws that authorize courts to issue a special type of protection order, allowing the police to temporarily confiscate firearms from people who are deemed by a judge to be dangerous to themselves or to others. Often, the request for the order will come from the relatives or friends concerned from a loved one who owns one or more guns and has expressed suicidal thoughts or discusses shooting people. The authorities may also request an order. Okay, and that those statements are, if you really dissect them and go down to them, there's like a wolf in sheep clothing. Okay, because here we see they debate how to take preventive action without trampling on constitutional rights, but that is the very first thing they're doing with these kind of laws. Some states have tried and more have debated enacting measures called red flag laws, which are intended to restrict potentially dangerous people rather than dangerous weapons. But the thing is that you don't have to give any kind of proof that the person that you're accusing is an actual threat to themselves. You just call up and say, hey, you know, that person is crazy and they need their guns taken away, even if they don't have any. Okay, so just think of this scenario. You don't own any guns, but somebody's pissed at you or they're angry at you, and they just call and the court says and SWAT team to your house. You don't know why they come in, or anything like that. The first thing that the SWAT team is gonna do is make sure that whoever's in the house, you know, they're neutralized. And I don't mean like killed, but you know, in handcuffs, whatever it may be. And then they're gonna search the entire house. If they don't find anything, then I guess they'll be on their merry way. If you do have guns, however, they will take all that away, okay? Then they'll give you a court date, and then you have to show up. And then you have to prove to the judge that you are not a threat. And that is crazy because it's supposed to work the other way around. You're innocent to proving guilty, okay? You already put it in harm's way with the SWAT team, because if you just think it's a home invasion and you happen to have your gun on you and you start shooting, everybody inside is going to die, okay? And then you're going to be painted as a terrorist or a crazy person with guns, and then that'll just give more fuel to the fire. Okay, so that's the first thing that could happen. Okay, now if everybody survives and they successfully take all your guns away, and you present yourself in front of a judge, and for whatever reason, for one, those can take months. I mean, we know how the legal system works. If you ever had court, your court date can be months from now. Okay. And they can just keep kicking the can down the road, and then pretty much you don't have any guns. Now let's think about, there's a whole bunch of people that they have to go through the system. Now, your court date will be months, maybe a year or two down the road, and the entire time you are not allowed to have a gun, because these red flag laws say that if they catch you with another one, using another one, then you become an automatic felon and you cannot have guns forever and ever. Amen. So that's why these gun law, these red flag laws, is just a wolf in sheep clothing. They will not work. They just get people in trouble, and they get pretty much what they wanted, confiscating the guns. Now, let's say, and there have been reports of people, of older people, who get their guns taken away, but in the process, the police kills them because they don't want to give them up. Okay, even though those laws are established. So we can see the danger there. Okay, here we have Beto in the next video when he was at one of his debates.
You said, quote, Americans who own AR-15s and AK-47s will have to sell them to the government, all of them. You know the critics call this confiscation. Are you proposing taking away their guns, and how would this work?
I am, if it's a weapon that was designed to kill people on a battlefield. If the high-impact, high-velocity round, when it hits your body, shreds everything inside of your body because it was designed to do that so that you would bleed to death on a battlefield and not be able to get up and kill one of our soldiers. When we see that being used against children, and in Odessa, I met the mother of a 15-year-old girl who was shot by an AR-15, and that mother watched her bleed to death over the course of an hour because so many other people were shot by that AR-15 in Odessa and Midland. There weren't enough ambulances to get to them in time. Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
Congressman, thank you.
And I want to say this. I'm listening to the people of this country. The day after I proposed doing that, I went to a gun show in Conway, Arkansas, to meet with those who are selling AR-15s and AK-47s and those who are buying those weapons. And you might be surprised, there was some common ground there. Folks who said, I would willingly give that up, cut it to pieces. I don't need this weapon to hunt, to defend myself. It is a weapon of war. So let's do the right thing, but let's bring everyone in America into the conversation, Republicans, Democrats, gun owners, and non-gun owners alike.
Can I make a point? Congressman, thank you.
All right, there's nobody could say that better than Beto, whatever his last name is. Okay? They want your guns. They're going to take it away. Hell yeah, we're going to go in there and take them. And you know he's lying when he says that those are weapons of war, because anything can be a weapon of war. So why they're going to come for bow and arrows next? They're going to come for clubs. They're going to come for slingshots. I mean, anything can be something that can kill you, okay? But he's obviously gaslighting the people. And what he said at the end, that he supposedly went to talk to people about Arkansas, I mean, you know that was bull. That people are going to say, yeah, here, we're a gun show, but even though we're trying to sell these, you know, you can take them and cut them into pieces. That's BS, okay? So the next video we're going to show is from Virginia, Fairfax, Virginia. And this guy in the video, he's a federal law enforcement, okay? And he couldn't have said it better himself. Here we go.
The problem is that as we are polarized, we have two groups of people who fundamentally believe the same things about justice and about rights, and yet both of those groups, they tend to conveniently forget their fundamental beliefs about people's rights when it suits them. And that happens on both sides of what is happening. I work plainclothes law enforcement. I walk around without a uniform. People don't see my badge. People don't see my gun. And I can tell you, people are angry. And I am frightened to the point that I am looking at moving my wife and child, my child to be, March, my wife and child out of the state if these bills pass. The reason is because my fellow law enforcement officers, I've heard on more than one occasion, tell me that they would not enforce these bills regardless of whether they believe in them ideologically, because they believe that there are so many people angry in gun shops, gun shows, at bars. We have heard it now. People talking about tar and feathering politicians in a less than joking manner. People talking about fighting with violence over their concern with Senate Bill 16 and Senate Bill 64. That is a terrifying prospect, and I have never seen people willing to speak about something like that publicly. The Attorney General was asked recently whether or not Second Amendment sanctuary statutes or resolutions were legal, and his response in his statement that he just released was that the legal precedent we would set by allowing communities to selectively ignore those laws at will is alarming and indicative of the same mindset that nearly 150 years ago led this country to dissolve into a civil war. I have corrected his statement to reflect where we truly are sitting today. What his statement should have said is that the legal precedent we would set by allowing the legislature to selectively ignore enumerated rights at will is the same mindset that 150 years ago led this country into a civil war.
Okay? We should not ever resort to violence. Never. Every 4 years, we have a peaceful revolution, which would be the election process. Okay? When that don't work, then we go to courts, and then very last stage would be doing our duty and protecting the Constitution. That's how, as Americans, what we should do. We should never ever go into violence. But these people, those politicians, are pushing the people into protecting the Constitution. Okay, the sheriff came out and told the politicians himself, "If you don't stop this, I have the right to start a militia." Okay, so in one of the videos that I did before for this one, I raised the question: what would happen, okay, if the militia is big enough and they come to the governor's doorstep, but there waiting for them is the National Guard? Okay, on that standoff right there, if the militia stands down because they want to avoid a conflict, whatever the reason may be, the governor wins, and he gets to do whatever he wants with that state. Okay, violate whatever right he wants to, enact whatever he wants to, because obviously he already won against the people. But if the National Guard stands down, they remember their oath that they have to protect, the Constitution and the people, and they agree with the militia, and they either get out of the way or they join the militia. What happens then? Okay, then the people won, and the governor is out of a job, hopefully, without any kind of violence. Remember, we're not advocating for violence here. Just the Constitution is to be protected. And who's going to stand down if it comes down to that? What if no one stands down and the shooting starts? Okay, even if the people who are in the National Guard, they believe in what the militias say, they have to respond because they're being shot at. Okay, so that is the whole thing that we're trying to avoid. Okay, let's not get it down to that. So what can we do about it? Let's get the politicians out of office. That's the best thing you can do. Vote them out of there. Get involved in politics. Let's just not sit around and say, well, it's rigged anyways, because obviously Trump won in 2016. So let's not sit down and take it anymore, in the sense that go and vote. Okay, go and vote. So how can you prepare for all of this? Now, of course, we're thinking of civil war, okay, open warfare out in the country or throughout the country, because not only the militia starting in Virginia, because of that, other states are getting their own militias ready. Okay, so of course you're gonna get the government involved once they see the militias are started up. Okay, so y'all watch out for that. But of course, like we said, and I've said repeatedly, let's not get down to that. Okay, you're gonna need food. You're gonna need food, water filtration, also communication, self-defense, and power, or as in electricity. Okay, as as we talked about last week about riots, you can see that the same of that applies here too. But the confrontation will eventually be clear separation of ideology in both civil rights and political views. And the idea of us against them will fight out until somebody wins. Okay? What you need is to have a bug out plan in place with your route and supplies ready to go at a moment's notice to get out of the way from the path of war. If you can't get out, or if you waited too long, then you need to. If you waited too long, then you will need a solid bugging plan with everything you need to defend your home and your loved ones. Alliances are what play a key role here, because you cannot be a one-man show against thousands of people charging your location, okay? People in the last Civil War raided homes and stole supplies from other people. They will do the same now. Food and water supply chains will be interrupted, and you won't be able to buy any from the store. You will need to have your food and water preps ready, whether you're hunking down or you're on your bug-out location. The last Civil War lasted 4 years. With new technologies advances, it could either be very short or last even longer, so plan accordingly, okay? So if you're wise and you get out of the way, okay, if you can, because if it's spontaneous, then you can't. But let's say you have enough warning or enough time to get out, just get out of there, okay? Unless you want to be part of it, which I don't recommend, of course, because then, now it's brother against brother. I say get out, okay? And then now you got to think not only of yourself, you got to think of your family and your neighbors and everybody else. So it's best for you to just go ahead and get out of there, okay? But if you, for whatever reason, you do stay, or you have to stay because you can't go anywhere, make sure that now you have your alliances in order, because on the first Civil War, the reason that they raided homes, whichever side it was, okay, whether it was the North or the South, is because they were trying to get supplies because the people were hungry, okay? I've heard many times armies move on their stomach. If they're starving, they won't go anywhere. So that's one of the reasons they were raiding people, okay, out of their supplies. And of course, other things happen too. But the point is, you need to have your food, okay? Right here, we have the buckets, okay? We have the rations and all that stuff. Those things last 20, 30 years, depending on what's in the package, okay? Those last a very long time, and that's the kind of stuff you need, okay? If those are too expensive or they're not within your budget, then you can either get canned food or you can get rice and beans and put it in Mylar bags yourself, and that will also last a very long time, okay? I don't recommend you spend a lot of money on canned foods, because unless you're really gonna eat it, then you're just gonna waste it and it's gonna go bad. This right here, though, this is gonna last a lot longer, so the investment would be better if you can afford it, okay? And if you have your alliances, now you can sit down and say, okay, this much we're gonna all pitch in, and this much is gonna go towards food, towards water, okay? So everyone is assured that they're gonna eat that day. And then you can plan according to how much everybody's gonna eat. All right. If you have land, because like for example in Virginia, most of the states, or most of the counties are rural counties, so they have land, so you can start farming. You put food on the ground and wait for it to grow. So while that stuff grows, this stuff can help you, feed your family while your farm starts going again. You can get livestock. You can get rabbits, chickens, and depending on how big your property is. And always pay attention to local laws. Usually in the counties, it's a lot easier to have farm animals and stuff like that. But if you live in the city, you need to just go ahead and get out, okay? Because for one, you're surrounded by a lot of people, a lot of people. Two, the supply chain will be interrupted, okay? Trucks won't be able to get in there. And even if they do, they will get raided before they even make it to the stores. And even if it does make it to the stores will get raided, okay? So that just makes a dangerous situation all around. So you just need, that's the reason you need to just go ahead and have your stuff ready in place. So for whatever happens, whether it's natural or man-made, you're ready. You don't have to go anywhere. Just hunker down and wait. Okay. Now, like we talked big problem back in the day of the Civil War was water purification, and it was one of the main killers during the Civil War. Have a good filter on hand. So now, like I said, now technology allows us to have water at home. Okay, whether it's in barrels, whether it's a water bottle or bottled water. I'm sorry, however you want to store it. Okay, jerry cans. You need the water filtration too, because if you have a pond, you can filter it out and you have more water. Okay. For whatever reason, you need to grab your bug out bag and just head out. Having that filter will make sure that your water is always drinkable. Okay. And when we're talking about a regular Civil War, when I talk about a nuke, even though the guy in California said, he would use nukes if it was up to him, if he had the button on his desk. But anyways. So that's what I'm saying. Now the technology is better than when it was back then. To my knowledge, they didn't have water filtrations, much less, on the little tubes, so like the one that I have right here. That right there is a water filter. They didn't have those back in those days. So now you do. You do now. You have the ability to be able to purify water on the go. That's why I think it might last longer rather than shorter, because now, communications, everything has evolved. Okay, the next thing is communication. Communications will play a big role here too. You can get information on what's going on around the country, or if a battle is headed your way. This is why having a ham radio is essential. Ham radios are very important, okay? But first of all, you need to know that you need to be licensed for them. There's different licenses that you can get, you need to get one of those books, and they'll teach you. They give you everything you need, and you can go to a local ham radio club, and they'll teach you everything you need. Okay, they'll teach you about repeaters. They teach you about frequencies. They teach you all those good things. Okay, so communications will not only be for your area. They can go throughout the world, and I'd say that it's better to have a ham radio for whatever news you can get from outside the country, because if the government gets involved in the Civil War, they're gonna shut down everything, communications, everything. Okay, if you can get outside information and what people are hearing outside the country that's going on in the country, you can get a better idea of what's going on altogether. Okay. Now, included into the equation will be the government. If citizens are fighting each other and the government don't take sides and truly just want the fighting to stop, then this will bring the U.S. war taxes to play. They will do what they will do to the citizens of this country what they do to the Middle East, hopefully without killing its own citizens. Expect for the power, communications, including the internet, and store supplies to cease. Plus establishment of curfew or martial law. At this point, you will have no rights. Okay. So make sure you have a solar generator, and only use it if you really need it. If no one has power and you do, not only your neighbors and the people who are passing by will come to your door, but the army might confiscate your solar generator at gunpoint. So be smart. Okay. The reason I say solar generator is because they don't create noise like your regular gas generators do. Okay, you gotta be smart, because you can put the solar panel inside your window and just let the sun come in and charge it. Okay, it's not gonna run your house like you normally would on a Friday night. Okay, that's not the purpose. The purpose is if anyone in your family has a dialysis machine, you can recharge your batteries, you can recharge flashlights, you can do all sorts of things. Okay. Some of them you can even run your refrigerator, keeping the food from spoiling in there. Okay. But don't use it at night to where everybody can tell that you have power, because your neighbors will wonder how you have power, and then they'll say, you're ready, you're prepared, or whatever the reason may be, and they may come to your door. Okay, I'm all for helping people, but you gotta be smart on who you tell, and who knows. That's why you gotta keep it hush hush, and just be ready for whenever if anything happens. So if the government does happen to show up at your door to take everything away, I mean, if the war's already going on, and if you're not part of it, just step out of the way, let them do what they will, because otherwise it's your life on the line. Okay? Even though that might create more enemies for them, but I guess that'll come down to the individual way of thinking. So we hope that it never comes down to that. You know, even though there's a lot of talk about civil war if they take guns, civil war if Trump gets impeached, you know, civil war if the 2020 outcome is not how they want it. Okay, if, as we've seen for the past months, since I think September, the Federal Reserve has pumped a lot of money into the system, which can create a crash. Okay, and they already said that they don't know where $1.3 trillion went. So, you know, and I think since September till now, they already pumped about $5 trillion into the system, which that's a lot of money. Okay, and as I've said in the past podcasts on economic collapse, next time it won't be a bailout for the banks, it'll be a bail-in. That means whatever money you have in there will be confiscated. It will be used for the banks to bail themselves out, even though they're the ones that created this problem. And just to quickly touch on that, what happened with the repo is that they're saying that they need liquidity, which liquidity means they need more bills in their vaults, because they need that money to be able to operate the next day. Okay, so at first the repos that we're getting is that I get it tonight, but then later that day I'll give it back, and that was working for a little while until nobody was paying back, and then they got longer term loans, you know, and they give things for collateral like mortgages, car payments, stuff like that. Okay, so it'll eventually, somebody's gonna have to pay the bill, and they just don't know who yet. Okay, and the stock market has grown a lot, but it's mainly because of all that money that's been pumped into it. So let's not get blindsided by this, because that could be horrible. Also, like, suddenly you have no money in the bank, you cannot access any of it, and you know that'll make people go crazy even more than taking guns away once you mess with people's money. And we saw that in Greece when they did a bail-in in Greece, and people went nuts. Okay, their money suddenly became worthless, and people were on the street rioting and doing all sorts of things. So that's why I believe that could also be a trigger. Okay, now you got to think that's going on, the gun red flag laws are going on, and the impeachment is going on all at the same time. I'm just saying it looks like the storm clouds are over our heads, and we're just waiting for a tornado to touch. We just don't know which one is going to come down. Okay, maybe all three of them come down. It makes a really big mess. All right, so now we're going to move on to movie of the week, which would be Red Dawn.
You're in the Air Force, right?
Marines, actually.
How long are you here for?
A few weeks.
30 seconds left. Just get us in field goal range. 22.
The blackout may run along the entire northwest corridor.
What's going on?
You take care of your brother, you hear me?
Go now. Why are you still there? Let's go!
If you're seeing this broadcast, you are in a part of the country no longer controlled by the government of the United States.
Boys, I love you both, but I want you to do what I would do and kill this piece of...
They messed with the wrong family.
How did this happen?
There's a new class of weapon. Everything went offline and never came back. They wipe us out, including U.S. Central Command.
What am I supposed to do?
I'm gonna fight. Anybody who wants to join is welcome to it. We'll hit them on our terms. We're the Wolverines, and we create chaos. We need to steal that weapon. It'd be the foothold we need and take our homes back.
I can't. Yes, you can. Relax. And squeeze.
We inherited our freedom. Now it's up to all of us to fight for it. For them, this is just some place. For us, this is our home.
All right, so that was the trailer for Red Dawn, and that movie came out in 2012. It was a remake from the original. I think it was 1984 with Patrick Swayze. And anyways, the premise of the movie is that we get invaded. The United States gets invaded, okay? And on the original movie, it was China and Russia. And this movie is pretty much North Korea and Russia. Okay, whatever the reason why they changed it, I don't know, and I really don't care. But the point is that what would happen if something like that was to happen, a Red Dawn invasion, okay? So on the next podcast, we're going to talk about that possibility of Russia and China invading this country, okay? We're going to talk about the weapons they have, the capabilities, and what would happen if something like that was to go down, or how they might possibly do it. You know, we can just think up scenarios. Like, we can follow our own, the things that we have done in other countries. So, I like this movie, for one, because it has cool action in it. And it really shows that nothing really awakes the American spirit as the trumping of a Constitution. You know, and that's what we're seeing in Virginia and parts of around the country. So I recommend this movie. Let's watch it, you know, just so we can kind of have an idea of what we're going to be talking about next week. Okay, now we're going to move on to Campfire Story. And this one is titled Doggy Leak. Okay. A girl is just a little afraid of the dark. So every night her dog sleeps under her bed. When she's afraid, she puts her hand down and her dog licks it to reassure her. One night, she wakes up to hear a strange dripping sound. She puts her hand down and feels the dog lick it. So she feels better and goes back to sleep. The next morning, she wakes up to find the body of her dog hanging in the middle of the room, dripping blood. And on the wall, someone has written, "Humans can lick too." Bom, 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 bom. All right, now I had a thought. What if this guy was the same guy from the dorm room from our first podcast? I think it was the first podcast. But anyways, that's why you always gotta lock your doors and your windows and everything else. All right. Hopefully you guys liked it. You know, if you do campfires around your house or with your family, you can tell them this story and tell them where you found it. Okay. Now we're gonna move on to video game of the week, which is Miscreated. And that pretty much, you know, helps you take stuff off your mind if you have the time to even play anymore. Okay, so that's pretty much it for for this week. Thank you very much for coming, listen to the podcast. We hope you liked it. Please like and share it on Facebook. Share it on social media. Like it on YouTube. Let your friends know about us. You know, we try to give people information. We don't try to get too political because, you know, we just don't. Even though things like the Civil War with Trump and all this stuff spills into the survival side, that's when we talk about it, like today. Okay, so I wanna I wanna encourage you to go to our Facebook page and like that as well. You know, help us grow. And we also have the book that I'm giving away for free. Is the Prepper Secret Cash. You can. I'm sorry, it's right here. It's Prepper Secret Cash. We're giving it away for free. All you have to pay is shipping, which is only like $7, and this book retails for $24.99. So you do get you get it for free. So just go to preppersecretcash.com, and we're gonna leave a link below. Click on it, and it'll take you to the page, and that'll help us. You know, around here, it'll help us grow. We don't have any sponsor or anything like that, so it's all up to you guys to help us. Thank you very much, and please remember, as our saying always goes around here, always ready.
The Man-Made Survival Show.